What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again, once again, and another week, another twab. But this is quite possibly the most important twab we've gotten in a long time. No, it doesn't talk about anti-cheat coming to PC, but it does detail all the content that we've paid for over the last 3 years that Bungie will be removing from the game. Now, I understand that Bungie thinks that this is a necessary evil. That said, there are games like Call of Duty that are over 200 gigs, and games like Final Fantasy XIV that are much larger than Destiny 2 with way more content, and still manage to have a fairly impressive file size of only 44.36 gigabytes on PlayStation 4. So it looks like Bungie either needs to get their development pipeline in order or just not give a fuck when it comes to building on the game. Because here's the thing, removing content is a band-aid for a gaping wound. It really doesn't address the problem, and we're gonna have to keep removing content anyways, so there'll be a lot of content that by the end of Destiny's life cycle, players won't have access to. I won't be able to go back like I do with Halo 1, for example, and replay it from start to finish. That just won't be a thing, because it won't be there. Removing content that people have paid for, regardless of how often it's played or the supposed necessity of it, will always leave a bad taste in my mouth, not just from a consumer standpoint, but from a player standpoint. In the last video, I talked about how Destiny is a shallow puddle of water when it comes to the variety of activities that players have. And now Bungie is removing a ton of those activities instead of dressing them up or recontextualizing them or giving us a reason to play them like other MMOs do.
But Joker, Destiny isn't an MMO!
You fucking what, mate?
So the way that we talk about where we're headed is like, the way we've talked about over the years is what's the vision for what we're trying to do. And so the vision for Destiny going forward, the Destiny franchise, is contained in like 3 parts. The first part is being an awesome action MMO. Being an awesome action MMO.
And if that isn't enough for you people who are in abject denial of reality, quote, this week's twab. It is designed to introduce you to the world and mechanics of Destiny and prepare you to play the action MMO game we all enjoy. You know, just in case there was any doubt and people thought Luke Smith was just misspeaking. Sorry for the digression, I just had to get that out of my system. I got that comment enough last video that it serves as justification to wipe the entire human species out and start over again. And personally, as a criticism of Bungie, not a defense of Bungie, I think they were stupid for calling Destiny an MMO. Destiny, at best, is Halo with extra steps. But if you're gonna call yourself an MMO, you're gonna open yourself up to a lot of unflattering comparisons. But back to the discussion at hand. Now, while we can justifiably be annoyed with the vaulting of content, some of the vaulting of content just seems arbitrary, last minute, and poorly thought out, which, in my opinion, is actually far more annoying. For example, take the vaulting of Weapon Catalyst. Bad Juju, Huckleberry, Izanami's Burden, Legend of Acreus, Polaris Lance, Skyburner's Oath, Sleeper's Simulant, Telesto, Outbreak Perfected, Whisper of the Worm, and Worldline Zero. All of these weapons are having their catalyst move to the Destiny Content Vault. Bungie states, and quote, if you have these catalysts already equipped and their objectives completed, you can continue using them at your leisure. If you already have any catalyst with an asterisk, make sure you finish completing the necessary objectives to apply it, as the objective will no longer be available at the end of Season of Arrivals. All of these catalysts will come out of the vault and be made available with new objectives, if needed, in a future season. Now excuse me, but why exactly wasn't there already something in place to redistribute catalysts with new objectives? I mean, for fuck's sake, we can literally go into the game right now and interact with a menu for the catalyst. So tie it to that system. Bungie has known all year, if not longer, that they're going to be vaulting stuff. So why is there not a new system in place to get these catalysts day one? Oh right, so they can reintroduce them at a later day and say, hey, look at all this content we've made available for you. Aren't we nice? Aren't we great developers? We totally didn't develop an entire system with the sole purpose of removing content and then reintroducing it later to make it look like we're actually doing something, because our development pipeline is so fucked, we have a hard time making new content. So now we have to mine content from, say, Destiny 1 and reintroduce it into Destiny 2, but don't you worry, give it a year and we'll bring back Destiny 2 content as well. Even if we give Bungie the benefit of the doubt and say that gutting all this content is absolutely necessary because nobody was playing it and Bungie could not be bothered to recontextualize it, and or add new rewards like they could have easily done for the Menagerie or the Black Armory, and so the better course of action is of course to remove what's not being used instead of updating it and bringing it forward and adding to it and adding new things to do with it, how the absolute raging fuckfest do you not immediately start working on ways that players can reacquire exotic catalysts tied to content that is leaving and not have that available day one?
And I reported this on Kotaku. What Bungie decided was we can't do this anymore. This is just too much. This is too hard for us to do. The tools that we work with are really hard to deal with. It's hard for us to make this much content. It's just hard making content in general.
Ah yes, well, I guess that explains it. Strikes, raids, planets, fuck, even PvP maps, which we'll get to in a moment, I can bite the pillow and think of England on. Because that all makes some logical sense to someone somewhere. The Catalyst issue just makes me think that somebody forgot until last moment, which doesn't make me hopeful for the future of any of this Destiny Content Vault content. And kinda makes the whole experiment seem somewhat arbitrary and half-assed. But moving forward, as alluded to, the next nonsensical thing leaving Destiny is PvP maps, 11 in total. Meltdown Solitude, Retribution, The Citadel, Emperor's Respite, Equinox, Eternity, Firebase Echo, Gambler's Ruin, Legion's Gulch, and Vostok. Now, you might be inclined to say,
But Joker, all those PvP maps suck!
1. Go play White Cell from Halo 5, then come talk to me about shitty PvP maps. 2nd, all the larger PvP maps are leaving the game. People want to bitch and moan and complain about hand cannons and shotguns, and then whine and moan about how pulse rifles and scout rifles never get used, but then you want to go,
But Joker!
when all the large maps are being removed from the game? Kinda sounds self-defeating, but hey, fucking details. Simply put, PvP maps are one of the things that should never go away. Destiny doesn't have enough to remove any from the game, and it takes forever for Bungie to implement any new PvP maps. Hell, we don't even have any indication that we're going to receive any PvP maps with Beyond Light. Under strikes, it at least states that Europa is getting one new strike. There's nothing like that for PvP. So while I'm not saying it's not possible that we'll get more PvP maps, it doesn't seem likely at this point, but hey, you know what, maybe they'll unvault more Destiny 1 content and bring us Destiny 1 PvP maps. Look, I'm just saying that PvP is one of those instances where we need more content, we need more variety, not less. And speaking of less variety in PvP, they're also removing game types. Supremacy, Countdown, Lockdown, Breakthrough, Doubles, Momentum Control, and Scorched will all be leaving Destiny 2 for the Destiny Content Vault. Second verse, same as the first, PvP needs more options, not less. And I guess we can probably kiss any chance of Rift or another CTF type game mode making its way back into Destiny. And to think, this is the company that once made Halo. Sigh. The rest of the stuff is basically what we expected, though I do feel bad for Strike players. Much like it takes forever for PvP to get new maps and game modes, a year will come and go and you'll get maybe a couple new strikes once a year. And now you're losing 7 and only getting 3 in return, 2 of which you could just boot up Destiny 1 right now and play. Look, I've been doing it probably for most of this video. Now, just to clarify my stance on vaulting content, it would be one thing if all of this content was being vaulted and replaced with shiny new content. Remove 11 questionable PvP maps, introduce 11 shiny new PvP maps. Remove 7 strikes, introduce 7 new shiny strikes. Losing quest ways to pick up Catalyst? Don't worry, here's an interface that allows you to get them. Day 1. It would be one thing if this was being presented as a well thought out necessary evil, but it's not. Lose 7 strikes? Well, you get 1 new one and 2 old ones that you could just go play in Destiny 1 right now. Bungie's removing multiple locations? Well, you get the Cosmodrome back. Losing 5 raids? Well, here's 1 new raid in the Vault of Glass, which you could just go play in Destiny 1. And of course, there will always be the argument,
But Joker, when was the last time you did X, Y, and Z?
to which I reply, 1. When was the last time I played Gambit? I don't see them getting rid of Gambit. 2. When was the last time Bungie incentivized me to go play X, Y, or Z? Bungie could have kept adding to the Menagerie periodically, kind of like a Gambit-style experience, with more loot and new mechanics and new things to do. The Black Armory is literally a weaponsmith and a vendor who hasn't done anything. 552. The Black Armory content is 552. The Black Armory content is literally about a weaponsmith and a vendor who hasn't done anything since they were first introduced. How? Why? You literally have an avenue to introduce cool new weapons and exotics via the Black Armory by expanding it, but they don't, because reasons. This is why people say Destiny is a shallow experience. Something gets introduced, and then that's it. Monster of the week, gimmick of the week, it's just kind of tacked onto the game. It's never made part of the core. The same thing applies to factions. What the hell ever happened to them? Or even sunsetting. It would be one thing if the loot was being removed and we got new shit, but nope, Gnawing Hunger gets sunset, Gnawing Hunger gets brought back, making the whole exercise seem like a proverbial hamster wheel for loot. Hell, even pinnacle weapons might get recycled. So there goes removing shit like Mountaintop to balance out PvP and PvE. Bungie's just like here. Go grind out Recluse 2.0 or Mountaintop 2.0 or Not Forgotten 2.0. But hey, look on the bright side. At least we already know how these weapons work, so no muss, no fuss, no guessing on the meta. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, Beyond Light will justify all these changes, but if it's another Shadowkeep, boy oh boy, is this gonna be painful. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon. But above all else, stay frosty.